All right. Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's your boy. And week 5 just wrapped up. And man, was it a doozy. We had a lot of crazy games. Let me go ahead and pull up my list. Oh man. Week 5 in the books. I wanted to say a lot of upsets, but it was just a lot of, good teams beating bad teams this week. Nothing, only one real upset ish in one real disappointing game, and I'm just gonna start there. All right. Right now it's Monday night, and Packers Raiders is about to kick off, but I want to talk about yesterday's late game. The Dallas Cowboys get completely embarrassed by the San Francisco 49ers. Just as I like to say, a dog walking. They took the dog to the park. They took the dog everywhere. They took the dog around town. Oh, it was bad. The 49ers, man, are just a notch above the rest. Just executing at a ridiculously high level. At this point, the way they beat the Cowboys almost just makes it seem like it's just unfair. Like, if I really sit and go through the 49ers players, when you think about it, the O-line, Trent Williams, obviously Brock Purdy's playing crazy. You got Christian McCaffrey, Debo, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Then you go to the defense and you have Nick Bosa. You got Fred Warner. You got Hufanga. You've got Hargrave. You've got Greenlaw. It's just, they are stacked multiple levels at every position. I just wanted to get that out of the way. The 49ers are such an excellent team, and I just after that game last night, I just wonder if they're just head and shoulders beyond everybody else in the league right now, because I've seen a lot of people, is this the 49ers being that good, or is this the Cowboys being bad? And it's just like, I feel like the answer every time now. I remember I asked that question to Daniel in one of the first episodes I did, and the first response was, can it be both? And I think, honestly, that's exactly what is going on here. Is it's a little bit of both. A little bit of both, that the 49ers might be easily the best team in the league right now. And it just also goes to show the Cowboys. Oh my, the Cowboys. I have a lot to say about this game, so let me just get straight to it. Dak, I said it all year, man. What's the difference between Dak Prescott and Kirk Cousins? Pigment. Melatonin. That's about it right now. Actually, crazy enough, Kirk Cousins has played hands down better than Dak Prescott this year. But Dak was just bad this game, man. He threw 3 picks. Let me go look and get the exact stats, because 156 yards, something like that. 3 picks, a touchdown. On really 14 of 24. That's it. They threw the ball 24 times. That's great. San Francisco only threw the ball 24 times. But Dak was awful, and I don't want to harp on Dak too much. I already said it. Dak doesn't have it, right? And the crazy thing about it is, somehow, some way, the Cowboys' offensive line actually put up a good fight against the 49ers' defensive line. There was no trouble up front, except for the fact that they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't establish the run, but they weren't going to get to run anyway because they fell behind so quick. So let me go look. Because what? Yeah, we start off 14-0 in the second quarter. And from then on out, it was just it was a struggle fest. This was a struggle fest game, because Dak didn't have it going whatsoever and they just stomped them. And I think a lot of the talk has been and will be surrounding whether or not Brock Purdy is actually good. Not just good, but is he elite? Is he carrying the offense? And I think they just got a glimpse of the possible future for the 49ers looking across at the Cowboys. And that's where I think like where I'm going to go with this conversation, this rant, if you will. I had a very deep dislike and disdain for watching Alex Smith play quarterback for the Chiefs for 6 years, whatever it was. I couldn't stand it. There's different levels to game managers and quarterbacks in general, but specific also in the tiers of the types of quarterbacks. And I think Dak and Brock Purdy are essentially just the same guy, to be honest. Actually, Brock Purdy is about even, because what he lacks in his running ability compared to Dak, he makes up for in just the processing of the game, right? Let's get back to that, what I was saying. 2016, right? 2016, Dak takes the Cowboys to a 13-3 record. And actually, I would let me pull this up, because I think what's happening is we see Brock Purdy playing at such a high level. And I think we, in general, as, football viewing people, especially if you're listening to this, we have a tendency to get wrapped up in the current, the now, and we forget that the past has played out and shown us basically just things that have already happened. These things have already happened before, right? To me, in my eyes, Brock Purdy is no different than what Dak Prescott walked into in 2016. And I wanted to go look at some of the skill position players to kind of compare this. So Dak walks in, and he has Ezekiel Elliott, his rookie year, who you could argue was the best running back in the league at the time. Very similar, not similar in play style, but very similar to what Christian McCaffrey is doing right now. And they had Darren McFadden was the backup. They had a strong number one wide receiver, and that was Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant, a big, strong, physical number one X receiver, sounds a whole lot like Deebo Samuels. They also had a top tier, at the time, generational tight end, a go-to security blanket-esque tight end in Jason Witten. Not too far from a George Kittle. Now, obviously, George Kittle better than Jason Witten. Deebo Samuel better than Dez Bryant? Probably. I mean, I'd have to really go look through everything, but I would say, just looking eye test wise, yeah, I would take Deebo over Dez Bryant, but that's neither here nor there. So, if we look, Dak and Brock Purdy, through his rookie year versus Brock Purdy's first, we'll call it 10 games. Passing yards per game, Dak has more. Now, that's a little skewed because there's a couple games where Brock Purdy didn't play the whole game, but either way, it's significantly more. Okay? Touchdown percentage is Dak 5 to Brock Purdy 7. Interception percentage is Dak at 0.9 to Brock Purdy at 1.3. Now the stats are the stats, but what I wanted to really talk about is the same thing. We're talking about a guy that is a good decision maker. Maybe doesn't have the arm of a Josh Allen, Herbert, Mahomes. Doesn't have a strong, super strong arm. Doesn't have the best arm talent in the world, but makes great decisions. Has great players around him. Oh, I forget to mention the O-lines. Legendary Dallas Cowboys 2016 offensive line, and Trent Williams and the boys for the 49ers. But so great O-line, great skill players, good defense. I could argue that the 49ers defense was better than those Cowboy defenses. Almost like it's almost laughable to even try to compare the two defenses, but still. So Brock Purdy with an even better defense than what Dak has right now. And then you get the cherry on top of the sundae, which is the coaching. Now, if I remember correctly, Jason Garrett was the coach of the Cowboys at the time versus Kyle Shanahan, one of the best offensive minds of the past 10 years, however long it's been. And I think we get caught up in the now, and we want to say because Brock Purdy didn't make any mistakes that he was great, or that he is great, that he is an elite quarterback. Excuse me. But we said the same thing about Dak Prescott. And what we found out over time was that he was average. He's an average quarterback. And it's funny because I dump on Dak. But in reality, they are, he is a good quarterback. He's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But he's not great. So you're right there. You're good. You're a serviceable starter in the NFL. And it's the same way I viewed Alex Smith. I personally I like this new style of the quarterback where we're leaning more towards runners and gunslingers. What I was calling point guard quarterback. Versus the traditional game manager, make the check down 30 times a game and just hope that your defense doesn't give up 50. Let's just hope we can, move down the field and whatever. But I think that's the big thing is Brock and Dak are essentially the same guy in the same position. And all it took for Dak to fall out of that was the next year after that 2016 year. And some people say, well, Brock Purdy did this last year. Brock Purdy did it for a handful of games last year and got knocked off in the playoffs in a game that I feel like people tend to forget that it didn't look like it was a close game. That Eagles 49ers game didn't look like it was going to be a very close game at all. Well, at least from what I remember. And I think we just get stuck in debating, or the media get stuck in debating whether somebody like Brock Purdy is good, and we tend to throw out all this other stuff, right? So I just think we got to pump our brakes with the Brock Purdy thing. In 2016, people were saying coming into the next year that Dak Prescott could be an MVP candidate. People like Skip Bayless, over their skis, looking at basically a game managing quarterback with legs, could be an MVP guy. But then what happens is, Dez is older, the line's older, the defense falls completely apart for Dallas at that point. And I think with the 49ers, we're going to start to see that you have to pay all these guys. Now, I don't know exactly what the 49ers contract situation is right now, but I can look it up. It's all this stuff is available, right? And I just wonder how long you can have a stacked team like this. I think it was Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, that said it's kind of like the Warriors when they had KD, where it's just almost unfair, right? Now let's see whose contracts are up first. Anybody that matters this year? No, nobody notable this year. But this is what I mean is, okay, so next year it gets a little. You got Drake Greenlaw, Brandon Ayuk is up, Isaiah Oliver, who was played pretty good, who fungus up, both the backup running backs. So yeah, you have about 2 years. You've got this year and next year really, where you can kind of have this sustained success. I wonder when Purdy's contract is up, because it. We see it with the Chiefs right now. As a Chiefs fan, we've seen it, right? We don't have the money to have a good O-line, build up the defense, keep Kelce, Hill, Chris Jones. You run out of money, right? As simple as that. And I think it's what I was trying to say not too long ago is, once you pay Brock Purdy, what happens then? Same thing happened with the Cowboys. Same thing happens with every single team, especially with this new the new way that these things go, right? Where people are trying to get a good to solid quarterback on a rookie contract so that they can basically keep all this talent around them. But what happens is, if that guy performs well and you're successful, people tend to give a lot of the credit to the quarterback. So then naturally, that guy's going to want to get paid like a top-end quarterback. If we keep praising, look at Dak. Dak got all that money and the team is barren, and he's out there just struggling away with all the expectations in the world on him. And I think eventually that's what's going to happen to Purdy. But that doesn't. None of this excuses how badly Dallas got beaten last night. And I feel like I don't even. What am I to say, right? That I did already say before. I mean, at the worst possible moment, the Cowboys are always going to do the worst thing every time. And that's what they did. They shit their pants last night, Sunday night. And you lose to the Cardinals somehow. You get blown out by the 49ers, and you get kind of starting to look like the Chargers a little bit, with the Chargers charging, but it's different, right? And I made a tweet where I said the Cowboys or the Bills are the Cowboys of the AFC. I see so many similarities between the two teams. They're both just talent everywhere on paper. They're easily two of the best teams in the league when you look at it on paper. There's talent at every level on both sides of the ball. You couldn't ask for a better construction of a team. But then, let me look, because I literally made a checklist. Let me go through it. So this is the checklist. Super Bowl expectations every year. Every year we say the Cowboys are going to be in the Super Bowl race. Every year we say the Bills are going to be in the Super Bowl race. Talent at all the levels, like I said. They beat the shit out of bad teams. They just do. Bills constantly go crazy on bad teams, and we get overhype them. The Cowboys do the same thing. This year specifically for the Cowboys, they just beat all bad teams, and we hyped them up. The QB, quarterback, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott are going to try. They're tryhards, and they're going to make horrible, god-awful mistakes, and it's inevitable. It's going to happen. That's what they do. And they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to flop to a team like the 49ers and Eagles for the Cowboys, or Chiefs Bengals for the Bills, and just repeat the cycle over and over and over and over for 4 or 5 years. And that's exactly what you get with both teams. And I feel greatly that they'll just do the exact same thing again. We'll do the same thing again. We're on the roller coaster ride of these two teams. So Cowboys fans, just strap in and know that you'll have some other type of high point this year. Maybe they beat the Eagles both times this year, and then we're talking about some. I don't know. Come on, guys. The Cowboys should be better than this, right? They should be, but it never fails. I just think honestly, it's probably bad coaching more than it is anything. Mike McCarthy had the same issues when he was in Green Bay that he has now. And before that, you have Jason Garrett, who just even struggles to get the team into the playoffs, or just go 8-8, 7-9, 6-10, and they would just do that over and over again. They did that for 3 or 4 years straight before they started getting back into the playoffs again with McCarthy. But this is where we at. Cowboys. Are you a good bad team? Are you the best bad team? I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm not a Cowboys fan, so I don't know how it feels. It's gotta hurt to know that every single media thing in the world is gonna talk about your team. But those the breaks, as some say. Also the breaks. Seeing as I just went over them, the Bills fall to the Jags. It was more the score was closer than the game felt. The game felt kind of like not like the 49ers, because the Jaguars offense is just, for whatever reason, just completely struggling. Yeah, it was 11-0 in the first quarter. It was just kind of like just a nice spanking, like just a hard-nosed beating. Yeah, because ETN, they couldn't stop ETN from running the ball. Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen, it's like, I mean, looking at the numbers, does that game no justice, because they both kind of stunk until the fourth quarter, and then they just decided that, okay, now it's time to really play and actually try to play. But other than that, it was just a stinker. The London games are weird. I see a lot of people saying that somehow that's a disadvantage. Flying to London could really affect them, even though the flight from Buffalo to London is I think it was a 9-hour trip, but the flight from Buffalo to Seattle is a 7-hour trip. So somehow the 2-hour difference in flights is somehow just miraculously just ruins another team from playing well. I don't really understand that. Maybe because they play in the morning. That's the only excuse I would have, is that your body is telling you that you are playing at 8 o'clock in the morning, and maybe the Jags were a little more into it than that. But it's just funny to see. Look where we at. We in the first week of October, and already just the Bills are falling apart. They can't even make it to November before we just get this, before they just lay an egg what I would have thought was an easy win. Really, you would think. I mean, the Jags have been struggling, and the Bills defense just came through and not shut out, but they shut down the Dolphins. Now, granted, Milano got hurt, Trey White got hurt, somebody else got hurt. Does all that matter? Yeah, because Matt Milano got hurt pretty early on. Didn't one of the safeties go down too, or something like that? Either way, it doesn't excuse. Somehow you put the clamps on Miami, but then you come in and play the anemic, cold to the touch Jaguars offense and just stumble and struggle and just overall just look terrible. I mean, the fumble at the end to end the game from Stephon Diggs, and they just didn't have it. They couldn't. It's the Bills, though. That's what happens. They go up and they go down, and they go up and they go down, and that's it. It's not just Josh Allen. People would love to pretend like it's just Josh Allen. Josh Allen didn't play bad, but he also didn't play good this game, which is very atypical. This wasn't a high swing up and down game for him. It was just everybody was bad early. And they just turned it on in the fourth quarter, started making plays, but outside of that, it was just terrible. The Jags deserved to win that game, and somehow now we're looking at Buffalo as, I think, ranked 7th or something like that. Like, that's just barely in the running to make the playoffs. And it's just crazy to think that we could have such dramatic swings even in how we look at them. Like, it's just a symptom of who they are, really, to be honest, because even us, the people that talk about football, swing with them. When they're great, we say they're great. When they play bad, we say they're terrible. And that's from everything I watch and listen to, it's kind of the same thing. It's like nobody's talking about the Bills now. They lost to the Jags. It's like, yeah, okay, well, we're done talking about them. And when they're good, when they do something amazing and Josh Allen puts up 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, we'll be like, are the Bills back? Are the Bills good? No. They're going to do the same thing. They're just like the Cowboys. They're going to be good. They're going to have a good, solid record, probably win the division. If Miami just kind of stumbles and people figure out how to attack that defense and keep the offense off the field, keep 2 off the field, yeah. But they can still win the division, and we'll still talk about them like they're contenders, and then they'll get into the playoffs and they'll lose in some crazy, ridiculous fashion, or they'll blow out the first team and then somehow get blown out. Something will happen. It's just like the Cowboys. What can happen will happen. What is that, Murphy's Law? If something bad can happen, it's going to happen to the Bills. Bills and the Cowboys, those are the 2 teams. The other team I throw in there, the Chargers. Same type of thing. Whatever can happen will happen. And I'll move on to the next game. Things can happen. Anything can happen, right? Just like Travis Kelce getting hurt in the Chiefs-Vikings game. Now the Chiefs won 27-20, and I'll take it. I will take a W as a Chiefs fan. Pat bounces back a little bit, didn't put up amazing numbers, but he just looked solid again. He just didn't look like he was struggling as much. Still a little sketchy, couple wobbly balls, a couple of them when he had to wind up and throw it deep, still looks a little duckish. Like he's still throwing a couple ducks. He threw that crazy pass to Justin Watson. Justin Watson really, he hit him with the on your head, and boy, did he just reach down and said, cookies in this cookie jar. I will take the cookies. Thank you. Just took that ball from him. That was a great catch. Bad throw. Tony Romo or whoever it was hyping up the throw like only Mahomes can make a throw like this. Like, yeah, it was a terrible throw, to be honest. He threw another short duck on a deep ball. I forget who it was to. Maybe it was to Justin Watson again. It was probably the MVS. He was throwing right and it just was short. I don't know what's going on with Pat. Maybe the ankle. I know he got rolled up on again this game and kind of tweaked it, but a lot of ankles going on. And then Travis Kelce in the first half, just on a probably 3rd and 2, maybe 3rd and 3, just catches us a little pass out in the flats, turns up to get the easy first down, and just falls down. And I start sweating. And then he reaches for his ankle, and I wanted to cry. All I could think was, oh no. No. The Pfizer injection got Travis Kelce. Like something in the world just happened to make him tear his Achilles after being called Mr. Pfizer by Aaron Rodgers. I just couldn't believe it. I thought he tore his Achilles. First thing, non-contact injury, just drops. It looks like he just lost use of his foot. And it was scary. He limped off, but when he ran off on his own accord. He could use his foot, so that was good. That made me feel a little better. But I was scared shitless. I was like, no, we can't afford to. The Chiefs cannot afford to lose Travis Kelce right now. The receivers are struggling. They struggled again. Rashee Rice looks like the only one who even has a chance of being competent. Justin Watson, but I don't think Justin Watson can play at a high level down in and down out. I just don't think he has the talent level for that. And just seeing Kelce go down was just crushed my soul. But he came back in the second half, ankle taped up, tore it all shot, all through his veins, mixing with the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine shots and weed, and because they caught him, somebody caught him. Took a picture of him at a gas station. He had the little Dutch wraps sitting on the counter. He tried to hide them. Yeah. Don't look at these. Don't look at this. Don't look at these Dutches in my hand. Just all whatever particles is in that man's body. He came back out and really, we being honest, carried the team after coming back, because he just caught probably four, like 5, 6 catches in one drive and moved it straight downfield, and he just came back out better than he was earlier in the game. Penalties was a little, everybody was like, well, you played the Vikings close. Okay, the Vikings aren't an awful team. They're just like this game opened up with a fumble, first play of the game, and that just is showing the Vikings' entire season this year is just turnovers galore. If they didn't turn the ball over, their record's probably reversed. They're probably 4-1 if you flip all the turnovers. But from talking about the Chiefs, the Vikings had 24 first downs, 5 of them were off penalties. That helps you a little bit. That helps keep the score close like it was. Chris Jones, Karlaftis, Nadi. It just didn't do it. I would have thought coming into this game that we would have just ripped that Vikings offensive line apart and just forced Kirk Cousins into hell and just was sacking him like crazy, made him throw the ball. But that's not what happened. The secondary really just stepped up, and even though Kirk Cousins had plenty of time in the pocket, plenty of time to just look around and execute outside of whenever it was a 4-man rush, he had all the time in the world, and the secondary somehow held up and held Justin Jefferson to, I want to say 3-30 something, 3-28, 3-38, somewhere around there. It just was like poor Vikings, because the Chiefs play a C game, a C plus game at best, right? Just a solid, good game, and they still lose. You still lose. Now, some people, they took away that flag in the end zone, but that ball wasn't nowhere near catchable. And if it's pass interference for the receiver to just turn around, and I don't even have time to turn around to even look for the ball because it's on the ground already, like that can't be pass interference. Overall, though, it was a solid game. Good win. Sweated a little bit. I hope the Chiefs can go into the Broncos game and just wipe them clean and call it a day. But overall, good solid game. Gives the Chiefs a little bit of footing, and they're not all the way back, but they're getting there. Just like the Bengals. A lot of people talking about the Bengals. Are they back? Is Joe Burrow back? Is he finally getting healthy? And I watched that game and that's not how it felt. They were down early, and if you take away that pick six from the 2 or 3 yard line or whatever, it didn't do great. The Bengals didn't really do great. They exploded in the second half. Jamar Chase. Before I even get there, let's start with Joe Burrow. The ankle is probably still a problem. He moved around a lot better than he has the previous couple of weeks. the Cardinals' defensive line just isn't really that good. They didn't really put a lot of pressure on them. Like, so Joe Burrow had a lot of time to make these decisions, and even with that extra time comparative to the last couple of defenses they played, he still didn't throw the ball deep. And the outside of it, basically they look the same. They just played the Cardinals. I think that's the big thing here is that the Bengals didn't look far and away better than they have the past couple of weeks. It was still kind of Joe Burrow dinking and dunking, and then hitting Jamar Chase. Then that one deep ball to Jamar Chase, and now we're supposed to pretend like the Bengals are just back. No, you played the Cardinals. One of my notes is Josh Dobbs had a 9.5 QBR. He played awful. They ran the Cardinals, that's what they do. They ran the ball crazy, and they still, at some point, it was still just, 24-20 in the fourth quarter? Yeah, like the Cardinals played terrible, and they still put up points. They still had these drives here and there where they just went straight down the field running the ball till I think James kind of got hurt. But they still made drives. They still finished a couple drives and were up. They were up in the first half. I think that's what people just forget. They just look at the stats and look at this and don't realize, like, if they don't hit that bomb, if they don't get the pick six, and they don't hit the bomb, they probably lose that game too. They didn't look great. So no, the Bengals are not back. We got to stop that. Do they look better? Yes. Coming out with the second half of that game after they got that little boost from the defense getting the pick six, and they decided to change the offense to just throw the ball to Jamar Chase. If he's single coverage, throw it to him. If he double covered, throw it to him. If he triple covered, throw it to him. If he quadruple covered, throw it to him. Just throw it to Jamar Chase. Every other ball is going to Jamar Chase and Irwin. Irwin stepped up. He looked nice. But yeah, it's still just not there. Joe Burrow just ain't got it yet. Just ain't got it. Just, it's just not, it just ain't right, man. And, I think that's a lot of teams right now. Like, I guess I can talk about the Patriots game, right? The Patriots are just bad. Really bad. And, you go 2 games and get 70 points put on your head and don't score, like, that's so embarrassing, man. Like, and I think there are a lot of people that are ready to jump out the window and say, fire Belichick. I think really the thing they should hire a GM. That's what, like, because I just don't think that Belichick he doesn't have the eye for talent, and they never have any good players. Like, it's so crazy to think that for 20 years they really got by on lackluster talent just because Tom Brady was that good. Because now you can see it. Like, you can have scheme and all these things all you want, but if you don't have players that can execute that scheme at a high level, then it's all pointless. And I think that's where they're at right now. I think Mac Jones is an albatross, just a killer of the team right now. I think that's a big part of it. I don't think putting Zappy in will change anything, but you can't coach out stupid. You can't coach out those dumb things. It's just like Jameis, right? Jameis Winston was good. He had everything. He's big, strong, fast, arm talent, out of this world. He could see the game in a different way because, it speaks to it when he put up 30 touchdowns in a year. But the problem was dumb. You can't coach away dumb. You can't coach away stupid. Just, what somebody say? I can't remember. I think it was Jason Kelce talking about somebody I think it was Vince Young. He was talking about Vince Young saying that he had horny throws where he couldn't help it. He just horny to to score or get a big play. And I think I think Mac has a little bit of that same Jameis, just dumb, stupid mistake stuff. He throws interceptions. He's a dirty player. He just always, he says the right thing, but when he says, like, oh, it's my fault, he says it, and I just don't believe that he thinks that half the time. It's just, yeah, you can't coach out stupid. And that's where they're at with Mac Jones right now. And it doesn't help that he doesn't have any skill players with him. It doesn't help none of that. The line is solid, but it doesn't matter if you have all the time in the world to throw if you make bad decisions and you don't have players that can make up for those bad decisions. And it didn't help that, their best defensive players didn't play. But no, you can't fire Belichick yet, man. I would say he gets, because he's Bill Belichick, he gets at a minimum 2 more years. You can revisit this in 2025 and we can talk about it then. But right now, no. Cannot. No, it's not him. If you want to tell me that you're going to hire a GM, sure, yeah. I'll take that. I think that's fair. If you want to say, yeah, Belichick's done with personnel decisions. But you can't fire him. He can't fire him, no. Okay. Let's just stay with the stinkers. The Ravens. Now, I wanted at first in my mind, because I didn't watch the whole game. I watched most of the second half. And in my mind, I want to say that this is on Lamar. But when I really started thinking about it and I really started looking at footage of the game, like looking back through the game, I can't blame Lamar Jackson totally now. Did he make bad decisions at inopportune times? Sure. But that's pretty much every quarterback outside of like Mahomes or, Herbert most of the time. So I can't put it on. The drops are crazy. And as a team, being a fan of a team that was dealing with really bad drops, I understand how it feels. And you might look at your quarterback and be like, hey, man, are you good? Are you actually good or not? But Lamar can only do so much. Lamar can't catch the ball for those guys. I still think that now, I can't blame him for that loss because there's a lot of things that went wrong. The defense gave up the big pass to Pickens to end the game. So I can't just put all the blame on Lamar's feet, at his feet. But also, Lamar doesn't look that great. When we're talking about making Lamar sit back and be just a drop back quarterback, it doesn't work. And I think it's weird that we continue to think that some of these guys that have been in the league for 5 to 7 years can just change all of a sudden. I think that's like a reason why Raiders move on from Derek Carr, because it's been almost 10 years and you know this guy by now. And I just think we're still at this place where we look at this class of guys over the past, since for 5 years. Let's say 5 years, 6 years, because when Mahomes gets drafted, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and we look at these guys like they're established veterans, and it's like we forget that some of these guys Lamar's been in the league for 5 years. That's it. This is Lamar's 5th year. He started in 2018. Now, on the flip side, that's a long time also, though. Like, being in the league for 5 years, I don't think you just can turn it on in year 5. I don't know if we've seen that often, of a guy just in year 5 change the way he plays and become better. It just doesn't really work like that. It doesn't work like that in a lot of things. I think if you told me that they flipped to this and then 4 or 5 years down the line, Lamar just incrementally gets better and better, and at some point does that, sure. But if we're just saying we're just gonna flip the switch and Lamar's just going to become Peyton Manning now, it just seems ridiculous. But also, it doesn't help. The drops don't help. You know, as much as I sit here and can, lament about Lamar's passing ability, you got to catch the ball, because there was a lot of throws he put on the money to those guys. This new group of receivers that are supposed to be top tier for him didn't show up for Lamar. And Lamar made his mistakes, but you're gonna make mistakes, and somehow you let the Steelers win. The Steelers, who've just been a cold body all year, you just let them come in and do that. Makes me, wonder. That's why I didn't really have them in my top 10, I don't think, because I just don't trust that team anymore. It's not the same Ravens of a few years ago that made me worry when the Chiefs played them. I don't worry about them anymore. Some weird stat I heard, I don't remember where, that Lamar has only beat the Steelers one time in his whole career. That seems pretty crazy. But yeah, I don't get scared of the Ravens anymore, man. They're not great. They're a solid team. They're in that same vein with the Chargers, where it's like the Chargers aren't scary anymore. After a couple years, after 2-3 years of seeing this over and over, it's not scary anymore. As an opponent, as a Chiefs fan, you just don't get worried by them. Yeah. But, Ravens, do I think they can go deep? Do I think I don't think they can go to the Super Bowl. I think their max out window for this year is winning a playoff game. I think most likely they make the playoffs and just lose in the first round. And most they can do is win that game and then lose the next game. That's how I view them right now. Unless I don't see what can happen, especially after watching that stinker. I don't really see anything, but who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Kind of like C.J. Stroud being the best rookie quarterback almost of all time, where he's closing in on range of, the best rookie season of all time. But this game, Falcons, Texans, CJ couldn't pull it off. Well, I can't even say that. I can't even say, that's the crazy thing about this CJ Stroud season. I can't even say that he didn't pull it off, because he did what he was supposed to do to end this game. Now they lose by 1 point, 2 points, whatever it was. 2 points because they kicked a field goal down one. But yeah, CJ kind of struggled all game. He's been lights out on third down all year, and this year struggled, or not this year, but this game he struggled on third down, and the Falcons got him off the field, and the Falcons were moving the ball pretty well. I mean, Desmond Ridder put up 300 yards. Let me go look and see what he had. I think it was 303 touchdowns. But yeah, Houston just, C.J. Stroud and the Texans, they moved the ball. Yeah, he had 329 with 1 touchdown. And he ran one in. It was cool. It was a cool run. But it was just what I've been saying. The Texans just couldn't finish drives, and that's what kind of handicapped them. They would just get right outside the red zone and just kind of peter out a bunch of times and then kick a field goal. Because if you look, first quarter, let me see their drives, because I think that would be very telling. So let's go through the Texans' drive. 6 plays, 28 yards, field goal, punt. 7 plays, 49 yards, field goal. Then they punt. 10 plays, 79 yards, field goal. Punt, field goal, punt. And then, of course, C.J. Stroud, on the last drive, puts on an absolute clinic, moves straight down the field, throws a touchdown to Dalton Schultz, and just looks awesome. And what should have been game got overturned by Desmond Ridder, who just continually in the fourth quarter specifically, just continually. Because if you look at the Falcons drives, they scored that run. He ran it in early in the first quarter, and then it's punt, 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 fumble, and then he just goes nuclear. Touchdown. Then they get a field goal. Then they move right down the field in the last drive and get a field goal to end the game. Didn't he? What was the? Who was it to? Browns for 6 yards. No, for 5 yards. No, for 5 for 6 yards. There it is. Drake London for 23 yards. That was it. Put him in field goal range. They ran the ball to run the clock down, kick the field goal, in the game. But otherwise, Desmond Ridder has a weird stat where he's like going back to college. Ooh, shit, I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. Going back to college, if you count now all the way back to college, he's like 31-0 in home games. I don't know what that guy loves his own bed or something, but 31-0 going back to college in home games is nuts. That's pretty crazy. And of course, this is how it goes. I'll put money on the Falcons for their next home game, and then they'll lose and break the streak finally. But yeah, C.J. Stroud kind of struggled all game, and Desmond Ridder finally had a really good game. He should have good games. Look at all the pieces he has around him. You got Kyle Pitts, you've got Bijan Robinson, you got Algiers, you got Drake London. Like, the O-line is good enough that I didn't notice they was bad. So there's no reason Desmond Ridder doesn't come out and do this every game, really. Except that he kind of stinks. And, Houston's defense they should have won this game. But that Houston defense just at the end of the game couldn't hold on. After holding on and shutting them out for basically from the first quarter on, from second quarter on, you just give it all up at the end of the game. And there's nothing you can do about it. If you're the quarterback, there's nothing you can do about that. That's on the defense. You guys coughed up a W. It hurts. But that's what happens, man. So I want to wrap up the pod with a quick little, basically rankings, if you would. I'm just going to say the levels of the league. There's different levels, right? Some guys are up here, some guys are down here. And these are the levels of the NFL right now. We'll start from the bottom. At the bottom, we have Everybody Loves Caleb. The Everybody Loves Caleb group includes the Vikings, the Broncos, the Bears, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Giants, and the Panthers. And those are all the teams that at first I named it Depression, because these are all teams that if you're a fan of, it's probably very depressing to try to watch football every Sunday and you're rooting for the Giants. Not great. Self-explanatory, The next zone I have is called the next level I have is called the Aaliyah zone. The dust yourself off and try again next year teams, which include the Colts, Steelers, Falcons, Texans, Titans, Cardinals, Commanders, Jets. All teams that you're bad. You're not good teams, but there's hope. It's not the depression level. It's not the Everybody Loves Caleb level. You're on a different level where, hey, next year, we could be really good next year. For the Cardinals, if Kyler comes back, they could be good. Commanders, if they get a new quarterback, they could be going crazy. The Jets, when Aaron Rodgers comes back, you could be a good team. Titans, it's the same thing. It's just kind of like, hey, the Colts, Anthony Richardson takes the next step. Texans, same. Falcons, same. Steelers, you have a solid team. If your quarterback can take the next step, you could be really good. Titans, Cardinals, Commanders, Jets, you need somebody else basically playing quarterback right now, and you'll be fine. The Cardinals actually have that. The next level that I have is good but struggling to play full games. This includes the Saints, the Jags, the Chargers, and the Ravens. All teams that have looked awesome and look like great almost top 10 teams at times. And then other times look like they could be in the everybody loves Caleb zone. So they're just struggling to put a full 60 minutes together. The next level that I have is better than their record. This includes the Browns, Rams, Bucks, Bengals. Maybe the Bucks. I didn't have a great place to put the Bucks, so this is kind of where they fell. Let me pull up the standings real quick and check everybody's record real fast. So the Browns are 2-2, but their defense looks awesome, like a top 5 defense in the league. The Rams are 2-3, but they've played good teams really close. They played the 49ers the closest out of every team so far. And granted, it's a divisional game, and those divisional games do get weird, but still, they played them close. They played them the best out of everybody else so far. The Bucks actually have a good record. They're 3-1. And yeah, they're playing like a top tier team. But I couldn't quite put them up there. See, I messed up. See, I did move the Bucks out of this spot. I just forgot to erase them. So it's the Bengals, Rams, Browns. Bengals are 2-3. Obviously, got Joe Burrow. He gets healthy. You got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Now Irwin, Joe Mixon. If the offensive line can get their stuff together, the defense is always kind of low key. Actually carried this team more than people would like to admit. Yeah, Rams are 2-3. Browns are 2-2. They're better than their record shows. You know, the next level I have is good, but ultimately you can't win it all, right? And that includes the Bucks. So, good, but I don't expect Baker and those guys to go win the Super Bowl. Next I have the Packers, where, yeah, pretty good team, but I don't expect you to go out and win a Super Bowl. Right now the Packers are 2-2, and they're playing the Raiders right now, which who knows how that's going to go. You can be a good team, but you're probably not going to win it all. Seahawks, same thing. You got Geno. The defense is a little suspect this year, which is weird, but you can't win it. Cowboys, same thing. Good team. Really good team. Great pieces everywhere, but I don't expect y'all to win the Super Bowl. The next level that I have is the 3 kids in a trench coat level. And I say that because from the outside, it's almost like it's like 3 kids in a trench coat. It's a perfect name for that, because you look like an adult. And in the movies or in the TV shows where they did that, where 3 kids sit on each other's shoulders and go try to get into an R-rated movie, it always works. So it works, but like there's something wrong. There's a couple people that look at this person in a trench coat and they get by, but it just looks like something's wrong. And those teams include, I have the Lions, the Dolphins, and the Bills. I mean, you look good. You look like a good NFL team, but there's something weird going on, and I can't quite put my finger on it. So the 3 kids in the trench coat level. The next level I have is the Jokic zone. And the Jokic zone it's awkward, but it works. It's very awkward, but winning. That's a perfect way to put it. And it's 2 teams. It's the Chiefs and the Eagles. It's awkward. It's a lot of stumbling, a lot of, awkward movements like Jokic, and a lot of weird movements and things going on, elbows and arms are going all over the place, and they're not going very fast, but they're winning the games. And that's all you can hope for is to win, right? And then the last level I have is just insanity. It's the 49ers. It's going to be tough to take down the 49ers, man. It's that simple. With Brock Purdy humming and all those pieces and that defense that's just hard-nosed and flying around and fast and just guys playing smart. On top of all the talent they have, they play smart. It's going to be tough to get them out of here. But somebody, I mean, they might be able to go 17-0. You never, who knows? They could do it. I mean, if anybody's gonna, I know people aren't saying it yet. They're afraid. You want to get past this Eagles game, but it's very, very possible that we're looking at a team that goes undefeated. I hope not. Coming from a Chiefs fan, I hope not. I would love for them to go undefeated and we play them in the Super Bowl and win. That would be great. Just another notch to Patty Magic's belt. But it's scary. It scares me. We're talking about teams that don't scare me anymore. That team scares me. Even though we beat them last year, cool. We didn't beat this iteration of that team. So, the Chiefs. But either way, yeah, that's it, man. I went an hour. That feels pretty good. Don't want to overdo it. But I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Hit the little notification bell. It's somewhere down here. Somewhere over here in this area. Leave a comment, what you think. Go back, watch the quarterback draft and comment on that. Let me know who you think had the best draft. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, follow me, download the episodes, and give them a listen. Give the old episodes a listen. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter at Carver2X. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Over here in this area over here, there's old videos that you can go watch. Yeah, hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks. See you guys Thursday. I'm out.